Hi, I want to talk to you today about shoes. That's right, shoes. Maybe you have some on right now. I do. Well, there's different kinds of shoes for different things. This pair of shoes here, you might wear them to go out, you might wear them dancing, but you're not going to wear them to go hiking. Why? Because they're inappropriate. This pair of shoes right here, you wear to wade in the creek, or you wear them at the beach. But I don't want to put these on today to go outside and make a snowman because my feet would freeze. This pair of shoes here is really great for walking, running, that sort of thing, but they're really no good for going out dancing in or trying to dress up in. So, what's my point about the shoes? Well, in the Bible, in Ephesians 6, there's a list of equipment for us to have for the spiritual battle. And the equipment is there to make us victorious. And there is on the list something about the shoes, and that's in Ephesians 6, verse 15. Let's look at that. In Ephesians 6:15, the NIV reads, "And your feet fitted with the readiness that comes from the gospel of peace." So in the spiritual battle, what we're supposed to have on our feet is something that's made out of the gospel of peace. And it says having your feet fitted. And I looked this up in the lexicon, the word for fitted, or as the King James says, having your feet shod. That word is spoken in the sense of that you do this for yourself. You get the shoe, you put the shoe on your own foot and make sure that it's secure on there. And you do both feet because it wouldn't do you much good to go to battle with one bare foot or two bare feet. So, what exactly is the gospel of peace? See, the shoes that I showed you, some were made of cloth, some were made of leather, rubber, man-made materials. Our spiritual shoes are made of something very specific. And we just read the verse in Ephesians 6. It says, having your feet fitted with the readiness that comes from the gospel of peace. So the way I think about it is that the shoes are actually made out of the gospel of peace. If you read the list of equipment in Ephesians 6, there's a belt or a girdle of truth, there's a breastplate of righteousness. Each part of equipment is some specific thing from the spiritual realm. Well, the shoes that we're to wear are made out of the gospel of peace. And I really enjoyed, if you saw the January issue of the Sower magazine, the cover art on there showed somebody's feet going down a rocky path. And it was the type of shoes that might have been worn in Bible times and in the Bible lands at the time of this writing. So shoes even for the everyday person were important. But shoes for a soldier, someone going into battle, are all the more important. So think about why you have to have shoes. If you were a soldier and you got all your equipment ready, you got your helmet, your night goggles, your vest, whatever it is you use, all your ammo and guns and that, and you went out barefooted, how much good would all that other equipment do you? A little bit maybe, if you could find a place to roost, but not that much, because having your feet covered and having your shoes well fitted enables you to move. You can go places. You can go places that you wouldn't go if you were barefooted. And I think that's really part of the great significance of having the gospel of peace on our feet, because God would like to send us places. And a lot of Christians were known for going on missions. Well, if you have a mission that you are planning or that you want to enter into, this is a big part of the preparation. It says that there's a readiness that comes from having these shoes on our feet. And I'd also like to say two things about the shoes. Number one, you can have on the belt of truth and the breastplate of righteousness. Those don't replace the shoes. And the shoes don't replace those other pieces of equipment. And truth is, when I started looking at this, I really didn't know what the gospel of peace consisted of. I didn't really know the definition of that. So we're going to look at that because we don't want to go into mission and get our feet all cut up and have to run back to the spiritual hospital because we forgot to put our shoes on, okay? So let's look in Romans chapter 5, verse 1. The Bible often defines its own terms, and this is one of the verses that capsulizes part of the gospel of peace. The New King James reads, "Therefore, having been justified by faith, we have peace with God through our Lord Jesus Christ, through whom also we have access by faith into this grace wherein we stand." So we see in this verse that it's the reason that we have peace with God is because, in one aspect, is because we're justified by faith. And this ends a whole discussion about, well, do we get right with God by works, or do we get right with God by trusting what he has done through Jesus Christ? And the conclusion is we're justified by putting our faith in Jesus Christ. And so that puts us in a position of peace. We don't have to strive. We don't have to run up and down and all over the countryside trying to do enough good works to please God. And we also don't have to worry about the mistakes we've made and the wrongs that we've done, because our justification before God depends on Jesus Christ and trusting in that. So that's the essence of how peace with God is actually won. And it's fascinating to me that in this next verse it says, by whom also we have access into this grace that we stand in. And peace with God and access to God are connected subjects, because once the war is over, then we get to enjoy fellowship with God. That's the whole point of ending the battle between me and God. In Romans 10, verse 15, it says, "How shall they preach unless they are sent? As it is written, how beautiful are the feet of those who preach the gospel of peace, who bring glad tidings of good things." And this verse is taken from Isaiah 52 and verse 7, where in Isaiah it says part of the good news is, hey, your God reigns. God is in charge. And so the gospel of peace is about working with God on God's terms and being brought into God's fellowship and presence by faith in Jesus Christ. I'd like you to think about what the gospel of peace means to you on a personal level. How has it affected your life? Or if you've never made the step of faith to put your trust in Jesus Christ, how might it affect your life if you did step into that place of faith and trust him to make you right with God instead of trying to do it yourself? If we're justified by faith, then that brings peace. Striving is over. And we have access to God. These are both in Romans 5 in the first two verses. And I assert to you that our access to God is one of the great factors that establishes and keeps us in peace, because now and forever I can go to him repeatedly and enjoy his presence and his blessings. Bless you. Enjoy wearing the shoes.